Out there in YouTube land, Va2A News here. Once again, we're coming at you live. We've got Jimmy Frost right over here. Today, we're at the Republican Party convention in Virginia Beach. We've got an election going on. Here's Jimmy running for the chair to tell you a little bit about that. Jimmy, take it away.
Well, every 2 years under party plan, we have to have a mass meeting that's open to all voters within our city. And this year, or rather last year in December, I decided to run and become the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia Beach. I've been seeing a lot of opportunities lost. We've lost a lot of our members, and our party has just been overcome by this sense of malaise that nobody knows what to do, where to go, or which direction to point ourselves. And that's exactly what I hope to bring to the table if I'm elected chairman tonight.
So Jimmy, let me say another thing. It seems like there's quite a bit going on out here today. We've got a steady stream of people coming in. I think at least about 400 people come through, 300 people, something like that. Tell me what the turnout is and how you expect that to affect tonight's election.
Last time it was, we estimate we had about 800 people. And I'm thinking that we're probably going to do that or better tonight. And I'm really into a big voter turnout. I think that helps me. I think that helps our cause. I think that helps the Second Amendment cause. Because my whole campaign started because of the Second Amendment. And one of the things that was absolutely horrifying to me was that under current party leadership, our party wouldn't even put a resolution on the floor to vote to support the Second Amendment.
That sounds pretty interesting coming from a Republican platform in the first place. Tell me about how you plan to change that.
Well, we are going to get it through a bylaws committee meeting, and we're going to get it through a resolutions committee. And we're going to strongly support the Second Amendment, because I think a lot of the 2A'ers are seeing that we are the only party that can have the horsepower to get something effective done. But we got to start at the local level. We got to start in our school board. We got to start in our city council. And these are the races our party has been in.
That makes a lot of sense. Tell me real quick, just a little bit, and actually tell the viewers out there what happened just a couple months ago. This is the second time. This is round two, right?
This is round two. What happened the last time, ladies and gentlemen, was when I went up to the voter poll, or the voter roll book, they didn't have my name listed. The party said there was some kind of problem that with the information from the State Board of Elections we got, we didn't get a complete voter list, and then the party leadership amended their story and said, well, no, it was actually the printer that made the mistake and opened the spreadsheet in an old version of Microsoft. Now, I don't know what happened. I don't know if we're ever going to find out the truth, but we ended up having to cast about 400 provisional ballots, which was unheard of in a mass meeting. They actually ran out of provisional ballots. So the whole thing went sideways. They basically had to declare the meeting null and void. The chairman herself contested the election, and now here we are. We have to have another mass meeting, and this is a tremendous expense to the party, a tremendous cost of everyone's time, but the law says we have to do it again. We have to have a leader going forward.
So, Jimmy, there's something you were speaking about earlier as far as the Second Amendment here in Hampton Roads, in this area specifically in Virginia Beach, and thank you for that recap on why we're doing this twice. Norfolk put out a resolution, a proposed resolution or an ordinance just the other day in order to ban firearms in public places as part of the new legal response that they have from the Virginia General Assembly, and then retracted it. Now, the statement that was made, and I'm paraphrasing here, was that it was retracted because some of the wording may have been unconstitutional. Do you think that the Republican movement, the 2A movement, has anything, the no local gun control movement, how do you think that has affected maybe the outlook for a generally staunchly opposed to the Second Amendment board? And I know you're not in Norfolk specifically, but you've been a big part of it.
Nice meeting you guys. I got to tell you, the Second Amendment movement and the Republican Party have so much in common. It doesn't make any sense why we're not on the same page here. And this is one of the reasons why I want to bring the party, or drag it, kicking and screaming when necessary, to come and support the Second Amendment. This is so fundamental to our freedoms as Americans. And a lot of times in government when they retract something, it's because it got out and they didn't mean it to. That's been my experience. That's what I've seen a lot of. Things are exposed and not disclosed. And that's always a problem. So it could have been they sent up a trial balloon and they stepped on the land.
Just to see what would happen.
Just to see what would happen.
I got one more question before I let you go. You've got a lot of important stuff to do tonight. And this has to do with what this movement at the local level, specifically with the Republican Party, or even for Democrats, what they do well is at the local grassroots level and invigorate their base. Here, there's not been a lot going on with the Republican Party. There's not been a lot of things that have, like, people ask me about where's this thing happening, where's the next thing happening, and I don't have the funds to make those types of rallies and things happen. But what would you do in order to bring some kind of movement or traction on the ground in Virginia Beach?
The first thing we have to do is we have to have a unified calendar that everyone can go to and see when all these events are. We have to find out when when the Tea Party's having their meeting, when the Libertarians have their meeting, what the Virginia Beach taxpayer organization got going on. All these conservative-leaning organizations have great ideas, and we've got to get on the same page. And when you have one facet of the conservative movement that is not activist, but another that is, and they're not working together, that's a big problem. And that's the problem that we've had for far too long. And even when Donald Trump came to town, our party didn't even have a membership table set up.
Yeah, that's really interesting. When Mike Pence came to town, just what was it, last November or just before that, I was there. I forget the school; it was a middle school or something. But the showing was large. There were about 2,000 people there. I did expect more, but you're saying that that's something that the Republican Party in Virginia Beach could help with.
Well, not only could we help with it, we should have a membership table there to tell people, this is your local party, come and be a part of us. But unless we're fighting for something that means something to the people that live here, they have no reason to join us.
Tell me a little bit, who are you running against today?
I'm running against Bill Curtis. He's the current vice chairman.
He's the current vice chairman. And why should you be elected over Bill Curtis?
I have 12 years of campaign experience. One of the biggest campaigns that I worked on was the No Light Rail campaign here in Virginia Beach. And in fact, that was a beautiful example of what happens when groups can work together. We used the Tea Party basically as our shock troops. Every time our opponents had an event, we would show up, protest them, and still have news coverage. They outspent us, just on their media alone, 13-1. $13 they spent for every one that we spent, and we still beat them on election day. So even though it was a David and Goliath struggle, as we all know, the day didn't end too well for Goliath.
Jimmy Frost, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I look forward to catching you a little bit on the flip side.
Right.
I'll go ahead and take that mic back, and we're going to keep talking after just a moment. Friends, we're going to come to you with more in just a moment.
I'm Tamari Teka. Nice to meet you. And I'm friends with Al. Yes, so I called him this morning.
Friends, there's a lot of excitement going on here today. As we look around and we see who is actually here. We've got Vincent Smith over there in the background. Looks like he's passing out stickers for the Virginia Citizens Defense League. Seeing Daniel Gade. Daniel Gade is a sponsor of several bills in our house, specifically about carrying conceal with a firearm and making sure that our concealed carry holders still have some protections with the new gun laws that have come about.
Yeah, and I would point out to you that
As you can see, Jimmy Frost right here, once again, chicken chatting with one of the constituents.
Right, if you have a restaurant, you don't say, if you're stuck, I'm not going to serve you. Right.
Right. So, and glad to turn work down.
Friends, as you know, we've got a live stream going on right now, so you're hearing about things as they happen. What I'd like to share with you is a little bit what we talked about with Jimmy just a few moments ago. That was specifically that the no local gun control ordinance, Norfolk, had not even considered having this. They had a gun control ordinance put on the books for a conversation on Tuesday, and it was very important. They did not hear anything about this before they put it on the agenda, and were ostensibly going to take it to a vote. This would allow the local government to take advantage of the newly found power by the General Assembly of Virginia, which allows them to basically preempt local or preempt state laws for gun control. The very important part about this is the Virginia citizenry, along with the VCDL, fought for no local preemption just 20 years ago almost. I remember that was a big deal when I first got my concealed handgun permit. One of the reasons I got it was because carrying a firearm was difficult to do in Virginia because there were so many different laws between the different localities, between Hampton, between Norfolk, between Chesapeake, between the Eastern Shores. There was all kinds of different localities, had different laws. Well, the citizenry of Virginia stood up and fought, and taking the lead in helping to organize that was the VCDL, but it took the people of Virginia to come together, lobby the representatives, and lobby the city councils, and lobby the people in power, the General Assembly, in order to get local preemption eradicated. And that meant that no locality could make a law any more strict than that law, which was of the state. And that made it easy to go from place to place, locality to locality, because the laws were very uniform. Well, recently, just in this last general session, the 2020 general session, and what went live on July 1st, we now have the ability, or the cities now have, the localities now have the ability to enact whatever local gun control laws that they wish. Well, Norfolk, this is where the conversation started back up, Norfolk put that on the agenda very quickly. And of course, around here in Virginia Beach and the 7 cities in Hampton Roads, specifically Chesapeake, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, we have a very strong, and Suffolk, we have a very strong 2A community. And so that got a lot of people upset. They reached out and spoke to the representatives over there at the city council in Norfolk, but they didn't want to chit-chat. And finally, at the last minute, a retraction was issued. That retraction itself had quite a bit to do with just pulling that resolution from the agenda. By pulling that resolution from the agenda, that allows them to take it off the agenda and relieve some tensions, but it doesn't mean that it's actually gone. So is it a win? Sure, if it is, but it's a paper tiger win because it could come back at any time. Now, if you aren't aware of the no local gun control organizations that are happening locally, like a grassroots campaign around the Commonwealth of Virginia, well, here's your time to get down with that. Just like the Sanctuary Cities movement, just like the Constitutional Cities movement, citizens across the Commonwealth of Virginia are coming together in order to help get rid of and maintain, or get rid of this local gun laws and maintain our freedom to carry our firearms. Just like the VCDL helped with organizing that then, and it was a citizen-led endeavor, they're helping once again. So if you go to the VCDL.org, you can find out all you need to know. They've got a 20-page PDF that talks about all the current local gun control documents and laws that are being proposed in this new special session of the General Assembly. This is 2020, Part 2 in the Special Session 1 of the General Assembly. Remember, House Bill 961, the really terrible anti-firearm, anti-gun laws that we fought very hard to get rid of just in last session, which was put off into the next session, has now been brought back. We should have had at least a year. It's 6 to 7 months later. And although it's not on the agenda right now, Ralph Northam has said that he wants to talk about it. He wants it brought up and he wants to push that through. So now it's just another shot to get that gun control pushed through. So what can you do? Well, voting here like this is a big part of it, because as Jimmy Frost said earlier, by voting, by becoming a part, by mobilizing the base and getting people with the Republican Party of Virginia Beach that will actually do something, we can have some people that will represent the conservative values of gun ownership and my life, my way kind of thing. You know, you do you, I do me, we're fine. Also, we've got to remember that if you're not active locally at all levels, then you will be left behind. That's one thing that the Democratic Party, that's one thing that the Progressive Party does very well. And we talked about this on the live stream yesterday for Va2A News. They energize their base very, very high. And by doing so, they have a lot of movement. They have a lot of interaction. And it does build a lot of compassion for their side. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm saying that like-minded people can get wrapped up in it. Well, here in Virginia Beach and other local places, if you're so easy to live and let live and not fight for your rights, then you're going to lose them. So it's very important to begin being a part of that process. We're down here at the Sportsplex in Virginia Beach. If you are a Virginia Beach resident, you have an ID that shows your residency, you live in Virginia Beach, come down here and vote in the Republican Party chairperson election that's going on right now. Jimmy Frost is going to help us move forward. Now, this is not necessarily an endorsement. You can check out who you want, but out of all the candidates that I've seen, I like the message that Jimmy Frost is talking about. No local gun control. As we get back to Norfolk, we took that little tangent right there, is the same thing. When we go out to Norfolk, we need people to show up to these City Hall meetings. I've been there. We've had 100 people, 200 people, maybe 300 people. In Virginia Beach, we pull thousands of people. In Chesapeake, we pull thousands of people. In Suffolk, we pull thousands of people. Right now, we've had probably 1,000, 1,500 people come through. But in Norfolk, we only get hundreds. And so that means the City Council can walk right all over us. So no local gun control is an important thing that's taking place right now. You can find out more information about that from the Virginia Citizens Defense League. find out about all the bills in the House right now that are, and the Senate, that could be a problem for us, and what you need to do to get involved. It's simple, it's easy, and it's just like grabbing yourself a sticker. All right, I'll check you guys in just a moment. We're going to go to commercial.
What treaty is this?
The 20-year plan's on the school board, because think about it, kids in third grade are what, 8 years old, 20 years at 28. They are the demographic that's going to control all these decisions. So 20-year plans are school board decisions. So that's about all I got to say tonight. I can tell you Jimmy's the guy you want to vote for. Come on down. Make sure you bring a mask, bring your ID, and if you're a Virginia Beach citizen and if you are a registered voter, you can vote. Bring your neighbors, bring your friends. Thank you, Robert.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Vincent.
I'm gonna just
go ahead and
off
take
this
that
mic.
back. No,
I need this.
Well, that was so fun. Yeah,
Which one
you got a, this is a.
Is it Pico?
Well, this is a vocal air.
Oh, okay.
It's just a neat little mic. You have to have several of them as you're going live and different things like this. Friends, we're out here. There's quite a bit going on. I want to talk about Hurricane Laura. Laura?
I don't know.
I got to check real quick.
Texas/Louisiana border.
Yeah, we've got some problems going on there. Yeah, and it is Laura. Category 4 right now. Winds gusting up to 139 miles per hour, sustained at 110. Category 4. They're talking about up to a 20-foot tidal surge. Waves coming across the harbor over there at Houston. Can you think about that? That is amazing. If you've got friends and family out there, we're going to send our prayers to them that way. Next thing that I'd like to talk about is a new thing. Vincent, got a couple questions for you if you want to come in. I'm going to go ahead and move this out. Vincent, I want to go ahead and please place that back on so we can have this conversation. Guys, yesterday, I don't know if you saw, Vincent, yesterday I put out a Va2A news video specifically about...
I put in my watch later, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's no problem. So one of the things that we're running into with the Second Amendment is the fact that laws are being made that generally seem to be unconstitutional. We hear that quite a bit. Now, I'm not a law scholar. I know you're very learned. You're not a law scholar. I know that we've got a law scholar that works with the Second Amendment, Tim Anderson.
Right over there.
He's over there, a gentleman like that. But when people that are laymen in the subject can sit back and say, hey, that there's something going on, that's telling you that there's probably something bigger at play, because you smell a fish, right? You can smell a fish. Yesterday I talked about the fact on my Va2A live stream that the sheriff is our last protection. And this is something that nobody's really talking about. The police, as the ordinance, or as police are formed, they have a duty to the city, to the locality, and they're sworn and they are accredited, and they must obey the laws and enforce laws and ordinances. Sheriffs are very different. Sheriffs aren't appointed, they're constitutional officers. Yeah. And by that definition, the sheriff has a great breadth of power of what laws to enforce and not enforce. Like Sheriff Jenkins out there in Culpeper, when he said he wasn't going to do it, that's how he was able to do it, because it's constitutional authority. He doesn't have to follow whatever inactions that the law, within the scope of law, although it's very broad. So I've got a talking point that I've been trying to bring up to get some traction, and that is that defunding the police, as silly as that sounds, we should reinstate the sheriffs as the chief law enforcement officer of the land. If people don't know this, in Virginia Code 15.2-1704, the chief of police, when established, usurps the law enforcement authority of the sheriff. So they must enforce the law, and they're beholden to the board of directors, the board of supervisors. But if you didn't have a police force and you had the sheriff that was doing all the policing as the constitutional officer, like they do right now in Culpeper and many counties, then the sheriff and those laws will be beholden to the people. What do you think about that? What is your take on that?
It's funny you bring up Culpeper and Sheriff Jenkins. I moved here from Culpeper, and I've actually voted for Sheriff Jenkins, and I really do appreciate his take on these things. I also have to say, I've talked to Stolley about this. I've talked to Sheriff Stolley here in Virginia Beach about this and about Sheriff Jenkins' plan, and I've asked Sheriff Stolley if he would institute the same such plan. And he brings up some good points that there's such a plethora of liability issues that go along with deputizing people you don't know and you haven't trained. That as much as I'd like to say that Jenkins' heart's in the right place, his plan's not going to fly in the long term. Because think about it, are you going to absorb the liability as a sheriff in Culpeper for 10,000 citizens of Virginia Beach who want to be your deputy? I just don't see that flying in the long term. But Sheriff Stolley does have an alternate plan that he says does achieve most of the goals of Jenkins' plan, and that's his auxiliary deputy program. In Virginia Beach, he does have an active auxiliary deputy program that you go through some training, you become a fully authorized badged deputy, and in return for that, you need to donate or volunteer 20 hours a month of your time. So you're not a full here's your car deputy, go out and be a sheriff, but
right.
You have some powers and you work with another deputy until you're fully trained.
You know, Vincent, I'm really glad that you brought that up. You actually pointed out the differences between being accredited and certified, such as a police officer, and then hired, and being deputized. See, deputization is a constitutional authority granted to a constitutional officer, like the Commissioner of the Revenue.
Yeah.
They can deputize that. The clerk of the court can deputize deputy clerks. The sheriff can deputize deputy sheriffs. And you're right. So becoming a deputy sheriff doesn't necessarily mean being employed in that capacity. It means having that constitutional authority that's delegated. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about your thoughts on that, and with specifically on this. If that Sheriff Jenkins plan, let's pretend it was overlaid over Virginia Beach.
Right.
And we're going to ask, I got one more follow-up question about Lebanon County in just a second. But let's pretend that it was over here. I actually don't see that the police officers would dissipate anywhere. I would see that the police officers would probably transition to properly deputized individuals. Now, it is true, like you said, the deputization, why would you want to, you are taking some liability there.
Yeah.
But defunding the police, as this silly conversation is thrown on the left, is actually an interesting conversation about restoring power to the people, the constitutional power of that. But how do you think that would work in Virginia Beach? You think you just have a bunch of chief deputies in the different precincts and then deputies beneath them, or what would you do?
It would turn into its own organizational structure, and how wide or tall it is would really be dependent on how much authority the sheriff wants to deal out to his sergeants and the ranks. I really don't know how that would look, and I don't know enough about the law. We need to get Tim over here.
Oh, Tim would be sure. Yeah, no, it's okay. Sometimes it's fun to have these kind of conversations.
But I'll tell you that most of the people that I talk to about this, and I agree with this position, is that the citizens of this country should not be put in a position where we have to trade government service for access to our constitutional rights.
Yeah.
Because they are just that. They are rights granted by our Creator that are not given to us by the government. So why do we have to work for the government to get access to them?
Well, that's a very good point. And I guess the final follow-up, which was about Lebanon County, I guess they've talked about it several times, and I don't recall the names right off the bat, but I did a Va2A video about the sheriff in Lebanon County, especially when we were talking about this. Specifically, there's a board member, I believe Renee, someone that she has proposed the idea of installing a police department, of establishing a police department, having a referendum to ask the voters, should you establish a police department and usurp the lawful authority of the sheriff to police the area, which is one of the duties the sheriff has to do. Well, one of the reasons that the lady, chairwoman, she's a Democrat, she gets for that is that she'd have more consistency in how the laws are applied to citizens.
She'd have more control.
Okay, so that's the most important.
That's what she wants, is control, just like somebody we all know here in Virginia Beach.
So in that instance, there is a county that already has a sheriff. It is perfectly legal for the citizens of the area to choose to install and establish a police department. But when they do so, what do you think the number one reason for that is? Like, why would anybody do that? I know it's different for each area. Why do we do it in Virginia Beach, you think? Why do you think they don't do it out in Tazewell County? Why are they considering it in London?
Most of the time it's an urban versus rural choice. And it's a population density choice in a lot of issues. And they need to distribute the duties of operating the jail and the courts. They need to separate that from the actual policing duties. Now, why the choice is made to create a police force versus broadening the sheriff's force, I don't actually know the answer to that. But I can tell you that it's usually we want more control issue.
I think I'd have to agree with that. Well, I really appreciate your time today, Vincent. I'm going to come back to you anyway. Guys, we got more great coverage coming from right here. Let's go to commercial, and we'll see you in just a moment. Hey, he's trying to grab that one. Yeah, I love it. Hello friends, and we are back. We can see what's going on here in Virginia Beach. We've got a lot of things that are taking place. Little sweetheart right here saying hello. She wanted to say hi and be on TV so much. Hi mom and dad, grandpas and grandmas, hey everybody. There's a lot going on. This is a family event, by the way. If you didn't realize, participating in the American Dream, voting your civic duty, is a family event. We've got a wonderful crowd. We've probably seen around 1,000 to 1,500 individuals come through so far. At least that's been what it seems with that steady stream of about 100 people standing right here. I definitely could be wrong. In the corner, we do have Tim Anderson. I can't see him right now, but he's back there somewhere. We've got Daniel Gade over here, which is really great. We've got Vincent Smith in the area, Jimmy Frost, of course. I was looking for Brandon Mooney. It'd be nice to see Brendan out here, or someone from the VCDL directly executive team. That'd be cool too. But if they don't make it, we know that they are here in spirit. Remember, VCDL working hard to help us defend our rights here. If you did not know, VCDL has a really great 20-page PDF brochure over on the VCDL.org about all of the Second Amendment anti-2A gun legislation which is taking place in the second session of the General Assembly. How about that? This special session is going on right now. And oh look, we just found him right over here. We've got Tim Anderson coming through. If you did not see old Tim over there, it's Tim over there in the blue. Right there. Hey, wave hi Tim. How's it going, Tim? Tim doesn't see us. If you haven't picked up your sticker already from the Va2A or a Gun Save Lives sticker from the VCDL, come on down here. This is one of the best ways to get one. Pick one up and have a nice sticker that shows your support. Guys, we're going to wrap up our broadcast today. We've got a lot going on still. There may be an additional special broadcast that comes out later on tonight, so just check the va2a.news or facebook.com/va2a. That's the Va2A News, which is really easy to get to. If you like anything that we do, if you like what's going on here, if you want to support these videos, it's very simple. The only thing you've got to do is click an Amazon link down below. That will help support us. You don't even have to donate any money. Just shopping online using these Amazon links will help bring you great content. Guys, I'm Rob with Va2A News. I'm reporting on your rights. Thank you for watching.
defense.